معلش احنا لسه في ناس لسه جايه اديهم فرصه يخشوا يقعدوا. هو زي ما ابونا actually both priests نتكلم انجليزي، معلش مع العربي بتاعي يعني مكسر شويه. Like Abuna mentioned earlier, we have two things that we'll be presenting today. The first one is very high-level overview of what is the Coptic Educational Foundation, of which I am a co-founder with my brother. My name is Sharif Youssef. So let me briefly talk about the Coptic Education Foundation, and then one of the services we're going to be talking about later on. Actually, it's a new service, a new offering, that we will be presenting information to the parents of kids that are in middle school, why they should start thinking about going to college, how they should advise their kids. I'm also presenting an award today to one of the high school seniors here to get accepted into four-year college. It's a Merit Achievement Award that we offer every year. So let me get back to the Coptic Educational Foundation. How many of you have heard of the Coptic Educational Foundation, CEF? Very good. So for those of you who don't know, we started about 2002, 17 years ago. Our primary mission is to empower, to help high school students get into four-year college. So how do we do that? We offer workshops like today. We go to various churches and talk about college admissions, talk about SAT tests, how to encourage them to take improvement classes to improve their scores. We offer workshops on personal statement, something the college requires. Most colleges now require this. We help them apply to financial aid. As many of you know, colleges are getting more and more expensive. Most families cannot afford to send their kids to college. So they will rely on scholarships, financial aids from the government. We help them apply and where to find those resources. We also help them with career advice. We have high school counselors that provide one-on-one counseling to the students directly or the parents. I have talked to many parents, especially those that just came from Egypt, don't know the system. They don't know the college system here. So we advise the parents as well. But we don't stop there. This was our primary focus, and we've been doing that for 17 years in almost every church in the diocese, including Northern California. But as of today, we will be starting a new service, as you will see later, how to advise parents about colleges. Because colleges, you start thinking about college not in your senior year of high school. You as parents have a role to educate, to guide, to advise your kids on how to get their mindset to get into college from as early as you can. But I'll defer that to the presentation later on. We also help college students. So we help the kids get into college. Now what? These college students need to get internships during their summer, because guess what? They're not going to get a job if they didn't do internships in their profession during their college years. So we help them get internship in their profession. So that's very important. We're also starting a new service that just launched. As a matter of fact, I appeared on Logos TV last Thursday, and I talked about job search, resume writing, interview skills. This is very critical, obviously, to college students that are going to be applying to college, but also any young professional, any newcomers that have a degree from Egypt and they don't know where to find a job, how to write a resume, how to conduct an interview. We'll be offering that services as well. We're also focusing on today's presentation that I will be presenting is we offer what we refer to as the CEF Merit Achievement Award. As you can tell from the name, it's a merit award. We grant that award to a high school senior that have been accepted to attend a four-year college, or the students that transfer from a community college to a four-year college. Today, I'm very, very proud to announce that we have Marie Ghattas, who is receiving the Merit Achievement Award. So Maria, please come forward. Stay back here. Maria is an example to every high school students that need to take notes of her process. How she came from Egypt when she was 8 years old.
Roughly.
And now went through the system here and got into college. Maria had a 4.0 unweighted and 4.8 GPA. That's as high as it can get. Her SAT score, which is an important test, is 1380. That's out of a potential maximum 1600, which is, again, that's excellent. She's planning to attend UCLA. She will be specializing in psychological sciences, right? Physiological science. I can't read my own notes. But let's not talk about just her academic achievement, which is obviously very important. That's the reason why she got accepted at UCLA. This award is really given not just for her academic achievement, but for her non-academic achievement. And let me stress that for a couple minutes. To apply for this award, obviously we ask for the GPA, the SAT score, where she's going to college, but most of the focus is on their community service and their personal statement. As you will see in a minute, why we focus on those two issues. And as you will talk about it later, you see how very important what we're talking about as far as college and their personal. So let me share with you what some of her community services. During the last 3 years in high school, she held various positions with the American Red Cross. She was promoted from office assistant to site leader at their annual blood drive. She moved from registering donor to donate to a leadership position. Very important point. It's not just serving a couple hours here. She stayed for 3 years with the same group, started at the lower level, and became a leader by the end of her tenure in a senior year. Through her volunteering at the Red Cross, she was able to gain insight in the nature of the workplace and gain better understanding of a team. Very, very valuable experience. Again, non-academic achievements. She considered her volunteer opportunity not just casual thing do on the side, but she treated it like a job. Like she had worked similar work environment. She was given duty, which she expected to perform, and they recognized there were consequences for her performance. She gained better understanding of a team. She learned very quickly how to depend on a team to achieve the common goal. That's, in summary, her community services. And as you can see, it's not something she took lightly. She actually thrived and did very well at it. The other thing we ask them to perform or provide is a personal statement. As the word mean, personal, so they talk about their personal experiences and how they overcame whatever that experience is, whatever the issue, whatever the obstacle, whatever the challenge. So I got the permission to share some of Maria's challenge, her, since she came from Egypt, with you. She came from Egypt 8 years ago. She left a very comfortable life in Egypt. Then her struggle started, how to integrate in the US with limited resources, like all of us did. I remember I came to the US with like $10 in my pocket. Very important lessons. Her family shifted from carefree to a very challenging environment. She had a rough start. She joined her 4th grade at the end of the year, and despite all her efforts, she failed all her subjects. Sorry. Something good coming up in a minute. Her struggle continued in high school. She wrote, "It was extremely difficult for me to make new friends in an environment where others only judge a person by their outward appearance." The nature and the mood of her family changed dramatically from what was a carefree family, big family in Egypt, turned into a small group of people that are constantly trying to overcome many challenges. We all did that. Each one of us faced some kind of similar situation when we came from Egypt. She wrote the following: "In Egypt, I had depended on myself and my family too much. We had many resources at our disposal, both financially and in terms of relationships. God was not in my mind and rarely in consideration. Losing all these resources encouraged me to turn to God. I was looking for a way out, and God became that way. I started reading the Bible and praying daily. I listened to more sermons and tried to gain a deeper understanding of the Bible. It was a significant life change." That's what she wrote in her personal statement. Very, very high quality. Colleges look at that very closely, and major factor in her acceptance to college. Let me close by sharing another statement with you. "I did not know that the life I was living was a blessing that many would wish to see glimpses of. When I had that previous life in Egypt, I would always find something to complain about. Silly issues, always, but something nevertheless. Having everything taken away from me has taught me to appreciate what I currently have, both the problem and the blessings, because there was always bigger troubles. My experience as an immigrant in the United States had taught me to see everything as hidden blessings. It is for all of these reasons that the Coptic Educational Foundation is extremely proud to present Maria with the 2019 Merit Achievement Award. Congratulations. She's receiving a couple of things. First, a certificate. Let me read to you what the certificate says. The Coptic Education Foundation proudly acknowledged Maria Ghattas for receiving the 2019 Merit Achievement Award for outstanding educational excellence and contribution, dedication, and service to the community. She will also receive a beautiful, nice check, an award for $1,000 from the community and from the Coptic Education Foundation. One thing I forgot to mention, and I should, Maria did not achieve this on her own. Parents had a role to play. I know her mom. She talked to me when she first came about what should I do? How should I guide my daughter? What do I need to learn? Spend a lot of time understanding, teaching, educating, working with Maria to try to give her the best advice she can. I recommend to every parent here to do the same. Get vested in your kids. All right, thank you very much. Oops, did I? Okay, next, I'd like to present Yusuf Zaki. Sorry. Yusuf is going to talk to you. He's going to present to you a few slides about the importance of college, overview the steps that you as parents need to consider, how to aim high. It's not just getting into college. U.S. here offers many, many wonderful opportunities to excel. And you should take advantage of it, as Yusuf did. So we're not, as I said earlier, just focusing on academic achievement of your kids, but also, and maybe more importantly, their non-academic achievement, as Yusuf will share with you.
Hello, everyone. So, my name is Yusuf. Thank you, everyone, for coming. There's a lot of people, more than we definitely expected, so that's good. So yeah, just a little bit about me. So I'm gonna be a second year at Cornell University. If some of you don't know what that is, it's basically one of the top schools in the world. It's like number 17. Not to like brag or anything, but just clarifying. Like I know what I'm talking about because I just went through the application process myself 2 years ago. So I know a lot of parents always come up to me and they're like, "What did you do?" and like, "How did you reach to the point that you did?" And obviously we would have a lot of conversations, and I thought that it would be important to just share that with everyone so that everyone can have those resources and that knowledge to kind of help their kids go through that. I feel like 6th to 9th grade parents, the reason that I was targeting that age, also by the way, I can speak Arabic, so if anyone wants me to clarify anything, I can do that at the end as well. Okay, just 1 second. Okay, so I'll just keep talking and then we'll figure this out. So yeah, the reason I was focusing on 6th to 9th grade parents because I feel like for high school and college, you need to start early. You can't just be like, "Oh, I'm in 10th grade, I'm in 11th grade. I need to start focusing on college." If you really want to go to a good school, you have to start early. You have to start 6th grade, 7th grade, 8th grade. That's when I started thinking about college. And that's what pushed me to try so hard to the point that I am where I am today. So, wait, it's not. I don't think it's this one. No, it doesn't go that way. Okay, sure. So, yeah, you need to start thinking early. So, I'm just gonna talk a little bit about what you should do as parents to help your kids. So, first of all, you need to know what they want to do. Now, a lot of you are gonna come up to me and be like, "Hey, my kid is in 6th grade, 7th grade. They don't know what they wanna do. It's still so early for them to even know what they're doing." But there's always a couple of signs and hints that you can see to see where they really wanna go. So, there's 3 steps to kind of know what they're into, and then you just go on from there. So step 1 is obviously identify what the skill is. You look at your kid and you're like, what does he like more? What is he just better at naturally? Like, for example, if he has math homework and English homework, what comes to him better? Like, it just clicks with him. For me, I gave a couple of examples. So it's out again. So I gave a couple of examples. Public speaking, that is something that came to me a lot more naturally. Okay. I think disconnect and then connect again. Huh? Okay. So I'll just keep talking. So 3 things that I put up there was public speaking. So for me, as I'm talking to you right now, I'm not really nervous. Public speaking is something that came to me a lot more naturally. So I knew from a young age that I wouldn't mind talking to people. And that's kind of where I started exploring, oh, if I like talking to people or if I like arguing, then what would I like to do in the future? Another example that your kid might be into is problem solving. For example, your kid likes to think about problems and ways to solve them. Or computer programming, if your kid is really into computers and really into coding. Obviously, at a young age, you don't really know like how good they are, but that's why step number 2 comes in. You have them join activities. So for example, for public speaking, there's a lot of things in middle school and high school that you can join that can show you if you are actually good at what you're doing. So speech and debate is a club where 2 people just go in front of each other and they just argue for a problem or a case, and then you see who wins out in the end. So that is just an example of a club that you can join and then see if you're really as good at public speaking as you think, then you keep growing in that skill. And then, for example, when I said public problem solving, there's a club for that called like Future Business Leaders of America, where you compete against other people to make up business plans or to think of something new, and you compete against people for money and trophies and awards and things like that. So if you identify the skill and then you grow it, then you're gonna end up being basically a better person because you have better skills and you are starting to stand out from other people. And step number 3 is keep getting involved. So for me, I knew that public speaking was my thing. I was good at arguing, I was good at talking, I didn't really get nervous in front of people. So I joined activities that tailored to that. If anything that seemed to have public speaking, I would join it, and I'd be like, am I really good? And if I am, then should I get better? And everything that I joined ended up basically pushing me in that direction. So if you grow from 6th grade, 7th grade, 8th grade, and you're able to find that thing that you're really good at, imagine how good you're gonna be by the time you apply to college, because you have 5 to 6 years to grow in that skill, to really stand out from other people. So I'm going to give you an example of what I did. So I knew I was really, really into community service. That is one thing that I really, really gravitated towards, and I would always like to serve my community. Obviously, that was seen in church, and I joined an organization in my high school called National Honor Society, where you're basically required to volunteer for 40 hours a year. So basically, I would just make a lot of my friends there, and we would all volunteer at places. And then, because I knew I was really good at I really enjoyed community service, and it was something that I found purpose through. I knew that joining all these organizations that kind of focused in on that, they would help me know more what I want to do, and that ended up being me wanting to work in social work and public policy and ultimately law. So yeah, I want to be a lawyer. So a lot of you guys might be like, okay, so that's good, my kid knows what they want to do and my kid is getting good grades. Because the thing is, there's a correlation, or there's like a pattern between what you want to do and how motivated you are. Because if you're just going to high school and you're like, okay, I went to high school, I don't really know what I want to do, but I'm just studying anyways, you don't really have anything that's pushing you. But when you say, okay, I know there's something that I'm good at, and everything that I'm doing kind of pushes me to do that, you're more motivated because you want to be better for yourself. And that keeps pushing you. Whenever you're down, whenever you lose motivation, at least you have something to fall back on. You're like, I have my skill, I have my thing. The problem with most people now is that they just walk around and they don't really know what they're doing. Because high schoolers, especially people in this community, because parents are not really that informed, because the Egyptian education system is so different from the American education system. And I know that because I was in Egypt till I was 12. So I was in Egypt till I was in 5th grade, and I was like learning Nahu and all that grammar and all that stuff. And yeah, it's totally different. So the one thing that I'll tell you is that if you are informed, you can push your kids to be more motivated and want to do better, because you're going to be guiding them and be pushing them to be better at what they're already good at. So the one thing that everyone kind of neglects is that grades is good, skills is good, but now extracurriculars. As was mentioned by Sharif, the extracurricular that the person was focusing on was, I believe, the Red Cross. And that is something that's extremely important. I know a lot of Egyptians focus on UCLA and all these really good schools, and they're like, yeah, I want to get in. My kid is like doing well in school, and I want him to go to UCLA. Well, bad news is, if your kid just gets good grades, they're probably not going to get into UCLA. The missing link is extracurriculars. Because UCLA, how many people apply to UCLA? I think around 110,000 people apply to UCLA every single year. 110,000, that's crazy. And they only have spots for like 6,000 people. So how do you eliminate from that? How do you know who's the best 6,000 people out of the entire 110,000? Because I can guarantee you, out of the 110,000, at least like 30,000 people have a 4.0, have a 4.6 weighted, have all these AP classes. What makes you stand out is extracurriculars. So it is so important to find hobbies and activities that you start now. You don't just want to go to school and come back home, do your homework, go to sleep. That's not what a successful high school student does. A successful high school student, they go to school and come back at 10 p.m. Back home, do their work, go to sleep at like 2 a.m., 3 a.m. That's what I did. You can ask my parents. I didn't sleep. So yeah, because I would basically go to school, I would have all my classes, I would have band rehearsal, and then I would have a club meeting, and then I would have to do stuff for my club, and then I'd have to start on my homework, and by that time, it's like 12 or 1. So clubs are so important. I can't stress that enough. The one thing that you can do to stand out is clubs, because it shows parts of your personality. Like, yeah, I'm a student, but what am I outside of school? That's what college really cares about. You don't just want to be a student, you want to be a person, and they need to see that. That's what clubs are for. So some of the clubs that I joined, or some of the activities that I did, my main focus was marching band. So I played the flute. I don't know if anyone was here, but I played with King's David Choir, and I also played with Lydia's choir. I played the flute there as well. And flute is something that I started in 7th grade. Again, goes back to my last point. If you start early, by the time you get to college level, you're already so good at what you're doing. If I started playing my flute at 9th or 10th grade, I wouldn't have gotten to the level of where I am now. By the time I was in 11th grade, I was playing with college flute players, not high school. I was playing in college, and I was still in high school. Because I got so much time to practice and be really good at what I'm doing, so that by the time I'm applying to college, I can write on my essay or my resume, I was able to play with college orchestras. That's what made me stand out. That's what got me into all the schools that I got into. So yeah, I know a lot of people, I know Egyptian parents specifically, they really like sports. So sports counts as one thing as well. But sports shouldn't be the one thing that you do. Yes, sports is good and all, but you need to do something else. You need to have multiple activities, not just one. And I'll show you what else I was doing besides marching band. There's Key Club. Key Club is like a social club. People basically just like raise school spirit and things like that. There's ASB and student government. That's really good to show leadership. Dance team, cheerleading, newspaper, all these things are good things that you should push your kids to join. And I can guarantee you every single high school, no matter which high school you go to, there's going to be some type of club that's similar to all the things I just listed. So yeah, importance of extracurriculars. It shows that you're a well-rounded student, that you're a person, that you have many interests. You're not just a robot. You go to school, come back, and that's it. Your school needs to be basically your life. That's, as bad as it sounds, that's the truth. You need to live. When I was in high school, I did not have time to think about anything else besides high school and college. And I know it sounds rough, but if you want to aim high, if you don't want you to just go to like an average school, that's what it really needs to be. And the thing about extracurriculars is that the more you put in, the more you get out. So I was really, really involved in everything since freshman year. So by the time I was a senior, everyone knew me. Obviously, the director or whoever was in charge of whatever club I was in, they really knew me really well. So I was able to get a lot of positions. So I wasn't just a member. Like Sharif was mentioning, she wasn't just the volunteer. They weren't just a volunteer. You were more than that. You were more involved. So I was a flute section leader, which basically was I was the best flute player, and I was able to lead people around me. And I was also the National Honor Society vice president. I was also secretary for California Scholarship Federation. I was in American Cancer Society, and I was public relations chair for that. I wasn't soccer team captain, but that's just an example for all the people who are really into soccer. You don't want to just be a good player, you also want to be captain. You have to aim to be the highest position that you can. And basically the good thing about extracurriculars is that it shows passion, leadership, and obviously when you do something like that, you're impacting everyone around you. Question? What do you mean by benefit? Like, do the clubs benefit from having you? Yeah. Yeah, so he was asking, is like participating in a club and being the best at what you're doing, like does that help you and the club? Well, obviously, yeah, it helps you because you can put that on your application, because on your application, when you fill it out, there's an activities section. And you have 10 spots to fill out what you're doing and have like a broad description of what you're doing. So obviously when you have that description, you can say, hey, I won this award and I won that award, and that shows that you're really good at. And that obviously increases your chances, because how are they gonna tell the difference that you just went to chess club every week versus you really put a lot of time into that? Does that make sense? Okay. So another question? Okay. So my extracurriculars, as I said, I started flute in 7th grade, and starting flute really helped me play in college orchestras even though I was in high school. So it was definitely impressive for college when I went to, because there were like, how many people played the flute? 25 people, but how many people played in college orchestras? Not many. So I was able to say, oh, yeah, everyone puts band on their application, but I really put a lot of time into band. And having the difference between just being in a club and being really committed and devoted to a club, that's the difference. I have a pie chart here. I don't know if everyone can read it, but I'll read it out. So basically, this is components of a good application and how much attention people, like college admissions, pays attention to it. So the biggest part is obviously grades and academic performance. The second part is strength of curriculum, and I'll cover that in a second. Third part is SAT and ACT scores. Fourth part, personal statement, like Sharif was mentioning, is really important. Extracurriculars and demonstrated interest. I'm not gonna go over demonstrated interest because it's not really that important, as you can see up there. But grades and academic performance, we all know that everyone needs to get good grades. But the thing is, having good grades is not the difference between getting in and not getting in. Having good grades is the difference between being considered for the school and not being considered for the school. What I mean by that is if I have two applications right in front of me, one person has a 4.0 and another person has a 2.0, I'm not just gonna let that person who has a 4.0 into the college. I'm gonna give them a chance. The person who has a 2.0, I'm not even gonna look at this application, I'm gonna throw it away. That's the difference. Grades are important, but they don't get you in. They just give you a chance to get in. The things that really get you, and obviously same thing with SAT. The SAT, as we mentioned, was out of 1,600. I know I got a 1,500 out of 1,600. That doesn't mean that I got in because I got 1,500. I got considered because I know people who had higher SAT scores than me. My friend had a 1,550 out of 1,600, and they didn't get into the schools that I got into. So it definitely wasn't just by numbers. That's the difference between the Egyptian education system and the American education system. The Egyptian education system is just numbers. مجموعة كام. In American education system, it's all about who do I want as a person in my school, and you need to really know that. The thing that I will say actually is the difference between getting in and not getting in is the last two: personal statement and extracurricular activities. I spent so much time on my essays, I made sure that every word was perfect. I made sure that every transition was flawless. I made sure that every single word needed to be there and I wasn't wasting anyone's time. My extracurriculars, as I said, I spent so much time on flute. I had so many leadership positions, so I already said that. But personal statement is so important, almost more important than grades, I would say, because you can have a 4.0 and a 3.5. The 4.0 would have trash essays, and I will guarantee you they will not get in. The 3.5 can have amazing essays, and they will choose the one with 3.5 over the one with 4.0. And I'm saying that from personal experience. So a lot of people can say, and that's something that I get asked a lot and I know is going to be addressed, why aim high? So a lot of people just say, so why don't I just have my kid go to community college for 2 years and then transfer? As someone who goes to a private school, there's a huge difference between going to community college, going to a public school, and going to a private school. Now, I'm not saying you have to go to a private school. Private school isn't for everyone, and some people can't afford it, and that's understandable. But you just need to know the difference because some people just don't understand that. Some people they just want to take the easy way out. I just want to go to community college and I just want to call it a day. I want my kid out of school fast. But here's the things that we don't recognize when you go to a top school. So, for example, Cornell is considered a top school. I will tell you some of the things that I personally experienced that really showed me the difference between just going to a UC. Not that there's anything wrong with a UC. Again, I was considering going to UCLA as well. But shows you the difference between just going to UC and going to a really top school. So the first thing is networking. Networking means being able to talk to the people around you. My professors are amazing. And I don't just mean amazing. Our engineering school, one of the professors is the one who founded the Google search algorithm. He's the one who found the code for Google. Imagine having your professor, you go to class, and your professor is the one who literally created the Google search. That is crazy. So the fact that you can talk to someone like that, and he's the one who's giving you the lecture, that's amazing. And you can go up to and talk to them after class, and you can maybe if you get close to them, maybe they can get you a job. Maybe they can do all those things. That's what it means to go to a school like that. Obviously, my friends, my friends know a lot of people because a lot of the people who go to those schools are very rich. So I was talking to my friend, this is just a short story, I was talking to my friend about applying to law school, and my friend was like, hey, are you looking to applying to this law school? And this law school is really good. And I was like, yeah, maybe I might consider it. And then she's like, oh yeah, my mom works at admissions. If you want to apply, I'll get you in 3 years. And I was like, sounds amazing. Give me your mom's number, and I'm going to text her when I'm applying, because that's a school that I never wish I could get into. But just being surrounded by such amazing, smart people who know everyone, who has power in this country, just basically gives you so many opportunities. The second thing is resources. So private schools have a lot of money, and whenever I had problems with something, for example, this summer, my first summer in college, I wanted to go to Italy to study abroad, so I took classes there. It was really, really fun, but I went to Cornell and I went to the financial aid office, and I was like, hey, I really, really want to do this. It's important for me that I want to go to Italy and I want to study abroad, because the class that was offered there was really interesting. And I was like, I want to go there. And they're like, okay, we'll give you money, and that's it. I just had to fill out an application that I wanted money, because they have so much money and they want to help their students. If you went to a public school or if you went to community college, obviously the budget is a little tight. They don't have as much money, so they wouldn't be able to give it out to as many students. So yeah, that's something that's definitely amazing. And with the career search, we have a whole database where it's just a website, and you can just keep scrolling through forever, and it's just jobs that you can apply to. And usually those jobs are found through people who graduated from that school. So basically it's called alumni. I don't know if people know what that word means, but alumni is basically people who graduated from there. So there's a lot of alumni that you can talk to, and they can help you with that, with finding jobs. The third thing is job prospects. So I want to study law, I want to go to law school, and I know that if I go to a top school, when I put on my resume that I graduated from that school, they're more likely to pick me than someone who went to a lower ranked school. And as much as that sucks, it's the truth. The name matters. If you go to Harvard, is different than going to any school, Cal State, whatever. Obviously, again, nothing wrong with Cal State. It's just the fact that the name matters a lot. And yeah, I put like a chart here for the starting salary of people who graduated from the Ivy League. That's the name, that's like the group of the schools that I go to. It's called the Ivy League. So Harvard, Princeton, UPenn, Yale, Columbia, Cornell, Dartmouth, and Brown. Those are like the top 8 schools in the country. And yeah, Cornell is up there, and as you can see, the starting salary from when you graduate is $77,000. So it's not just that you go to school and it's like, okay, I have the name, but obviously you go to school and you find out that you obviously make more money because they want you more. They want someone who graduated from insert top school name there. So yeah, my last slide. So, okay, there we go. So why should prestige really matter? Unfortunately, prestige matters in college a lot. So when you go to a top school, it really expands your opportunities. So basically, if you had the same opportunities at Cornell as you did in whatever, then I would tell you right now, save your money and go to whatever school that's cheapest to you. But I feel like the cost definitely pays off when you have so many people that you can just knock on their door during lecture and just have amazing opportunities. Like, I'm going to be doing research this semester with a professor, and this professor graduated with a PhD in Stanford, and basically she founded this amazing top organization. And it's like, the fact that I can just send an email to someone who's so amazing and be like, hey, I want to work with you. And she's like, okay, come to my office next week when school starts and we're going to figure something out. The fact that you can just do that so easily just shows how important it is to try to aim so high. My second thing is actually something that most people don't know, is that because private schools, like I mentioned, have a lot of money, they're actually able to give more of it out. So I got the most financial aid actually from my private schools versus my public schools. As I was saying, I was considering going to UCLA, but actually UCLA gave me probably the least money out of the schools that I applied to. Cornell basically gave me a full ride, so I don't have to pay much to go to Cornell, versus UCLA where I had to pay around $10,000 a year. So because UCLA, it's definitely a good school. I'm never saying UCLA is, I love UCLA. All my friends go there and it's an amazing school. But UCLA does not have as much money to give to students, so financial aid might actually not be as good. The second thing, my last point just goes back to what it is. Public schools provide amazing opportunities. UCLA, UC Berkeley, again, amazing schools. But they also prepare students for the professional world. Like, no matter where you go at those schools, you're set, you're fine. You're gonna graduate, you're gonna find something to do. But the name definitely does matter. So, questions? Thank you. Yeah, sure.
While you're thinking about questions for Yusuf, by the way, excellent presentation. As you can see, he has a lot of passion about what he's presenting to you today. I want to emphasize a couple of points he made and link them to some very critical point. Community services of extracurricular activities give the students a chance to write their essay. Think about this. Essay is a personal statement about their challenges, their struggle, their success, how they overcame challenge. If they didn't have that opportunity while they're serving, where they are engaged in a band or in sports or whatever club, it's through these experiences that they write their personal statement. And that's the best statement usually is written. Let me share with you an example. I've read many personal statements. The best one I have seen are the kids during the summer volunteer to do something. I'm going to give you an example. One of the kids that applied didn't speak English. He went to Egypt, went to Said somewhere, stayed for 3 weeks, served in the diocese of that area, and start teaching these kids, young kids, don't speak in English, start to teach them English and communicate with them. The kid didn't speak Arabic. The kid's 7, 8 years old, didn't speak any English. But guess what? He wrote an essay called The Crayon. What is that? The little kid had a little crayon, the one you used to color, and he was biting on it. So Michael saw that, recognize what these kids need. He brought him in, gave him some paper, start drawing with him. For the 3 weeks that he stayed, I'm not sure how they communicated, but they did communicate with each other. The impact that little kid left on Michael was so amazing that he came back home a completely different person. He wrote the essay about his experience, how he communicated with this little kid, how this little kid who had nothing, while Michael had everything here, basically. How he taught him basics, critical lessons in life. So my point is, give your kids a lot of chances to excel, okay? So that's my addition to what Yusuf said. I know Yusuf wanted you to aim high, absolutely. You must aim high or higher than what your kids' abilities are. But that doesn't mean you're gonna only do that. My recommendation is, and we typically advise every high school seniors to apply to at least 10 to 12 colleges. How many did you apply to?
25.
25. That's quite high. But our recommendation is at least 12, 3 or 4 that you know you're gonna get in, based on your grades, your scores, your extracurricular activities, based on the statistics for that school is going to accept, you know you're going to get in. And then you apply to about 3 or 4 schools that you have a very good chance, but you're not sure. It's not a sure thing. And then you apply to 3 or 4 that it's high. It's aiming high. It's beyond most likely what you think you might be accepted, but you never know. Every year is different. Even though last year maybe they didn't accept someone with a grade GPA of 3.5, but like Yusuf said, it's the combination of your application, the classes you took, the honor classes you took, your GPA, your SAT score, your personal statement, your extracurricular activities, combined is your application. Just keep that in mind. Any question for Youssef?
اوكي لو حد عايز يسأل أسئلة we'll pass the mic عشان خاطر كلنا نسمع بعض.
There's something you heard about is like a second year exit exam for high school, and there is a lot of debates about that. Some people say if you take the exit exam, it's going to show like you're very strong, and some others say some medical school not require that. My second question, there is some school outside the United States, for example, UK doesn't require like, you know, a 4-year college. You can just go with high school. What's your input about this?
So the first question I knew was going to come up, and I actually made like a whole list of what I think is good and why I think it's bad. Again, I personally didn't do that, as I said, but there's two really good reasons why some people do it. But I would say that for you to actually do that successfully, there needs to be very good communication between the parents and the student, because you really need to know what your kid wants to do. If you know what you want to do for sure, which I will say more likely than not, your kid does not know what they want to do. I didn't know what I want to do. I majored in government, and then I majored in economics. Then I dropped economics, stayed with government, dropped government, decided to major in hotel administration. Then I majored in sociology. Thankfully, because of my school, it's not really that hard to change majors at all. But with community college and with that, it's really, really hard. But like, as I said, like you can see someone right now, you're like, oh, this kid really knows what they want to do. This kid is so smart. But I'll tell you right now, I changed my major 4 or 5 times. So if that, if you really aren't 100% sure, 110% sure what you want to do, you're wasting your time actually not saving it. The thing with high school is that it's a time to make mistakes without really paying much. High school, I thought I was into science. I thought I was going to be really good at science, and I wanted to be a doctor. Come 11th and 12th grade, I took AP Physics, and I just looked at that and I was like, I don't want to be a doctor ever again. But the thing is, I took a high school class. It was not, in community college, when you take that class, you have to pay for it, you have to spend time, and you can't really change it. With high school, you can be like, okay, I took AP Physics, I didn't like it, that's out of the way. And when I apply to college, I know what I like and what I don't. So that's one thing. The two things that I have, the one most important thing that I have to say is that what people don't know is called dual enrollment. I don't know if anyone knows about that, but dual enrollment is basically, you can take community college classes while you're still in high school, and it's actually free, you don't pay for it. So you take community college classes, like when you do the exit exam, you take the community college classes, but you pay for it. But if you're still in high school, you can take those same classes, but you don't have to pay for anything, and you're still in high school. So you're finishing up your high school diploma, and you're getting some credits out of the way for college. The one thing that I really like about dual enrollment is that it gives you that same thing that I told you about, oh, I like this, I like that, but you don't have to pay for it. So you get to really explore the subject from a college level class, but you learn about what you like and what you don't like. So the thing with that is that with coming back to that skill that the first slide that I was talking about identifying your skills and growing them, I feel like that can't really happen at a community college, because at a community college, they already expect you to know what you like and what you don't like. They don't really expect you to explore, oh, I like public speaking, oh, I like computer programming, oh, I like Maraf 8. You don't have that chance anymore. You have to already have known that. But for high school, when you're still there, you can be like, oh, I think I like public speaking. Let me try this club. Oh, I don't like it. Let me try this other club. Maybe I like this more. In community college, you don't have those same opportunities anymore. Yeah, sure. Not really, but...
Oh, go ahead and finish.
Okay.
That's all right.
So, also for medical schools and law schools, one thing that they really stress on is leadership positions, just like college. Grad school is the same thing as undergrad, it's just more intense. For grad school, you really want to have leadership positions in the clubs that you're involved in undergrad, in college. And if you transfer, If you transfer and you go to college and you're a junior already, you don't really make those friends, you don't make those connections, you miss out on all those things that I said because you come in so late in the game that you might join a club here and there junior year, but you probably won't be able to get a leadership position, you won't be president of any clubs, you won't be doing anything because they already know people who have been there from the beginning. If I've known you for 4 years, why would I pick him who came a year ago as president when I have known you longer? You know what I'm saying? So that's one thing that definitely I already have positions in my clubs because I'm already developing relationships. I'm already developing all these things because I've known these people from a younger time. The second thing that I had to say is that you're surrounded by more ambitious people in high school. I feel like in community college, definitely not everyone, but a majority of the people that go to community college are people who are just not doing well and they had to go to community college. But the reason that I am today, and I'm being completely honest right now, I'm not trying to persuade you or anything, the reason that I am where I am today is because of all the people that I surrounded myself with in high school. I was surrounded by extremely ambitious people. All my friends are going to top schools. One of my best friends ended up going to Harvard. My other friends are all at UCLA or UC Berkeley. A lot of my friends are also at Cornell or other Ivy League schools. And the reason that I am the way I am today is because I always was around them, so I feel like I had to be on the same level as them. When you go to community college, people really don't care as much. And I'm not saying everyone, just a good majority. And when you're at the top of when you're at a community college class and everyone around you is like, okay, like, I just want to pass this class, you don't really have to push yourself as much. Like, the reason that I'm doing this presentation today is because one of my friends is literally about to she's creating a smartphone app to discover lung cancer from an early age. So I'm surrounded by people who are doing these amazing things. So of course, when I'm surrounded by someone like that, I want to push myself more. So if you want your kid to really reach your full potential, you need to be surrounded by people who are as ambitious. So not knocking that idea off, but I'm just saying that it is more likely than not that you will be more successful if you stay in high school. Obviously, the maturity level as well is something that's important. And I remember I talked with Sharif about it as well. You're in 10th grade, you're like 16, 17, you don't really know who you are. And you need to be around people who are still figuring themselves out to grow with them so you really know who you are. But when you're forced to just skip all that and just go to whatever, like a community college, I feel like it just takes away from that experience because, like, I remember Sharif said this specifically, make sure you have time for yourself to have fun, because when you get to college, trust me, you don't have that much time anymore. Like I said, oh, I went to school and I went back home at like 10 and I would sleep at like 2 or 3 and whatever, but I was still having a lot of fun in high school. Don't get me wrong, high school, it was amazing. I had so many friends, we would always go out, we'd do all these things. And trust me when I say that those opportunities to go out, they're not as common in college anymore. Everyone is just so focused. And if you want to take away that fun and all those things, fun is just as important as academics, because when you don't have fun, you're gonna sacrifice academics to have that fun because you feel like you're missing out.
I was going to stress the last point that Yusuf said about you're taking away 2 years of your young kids. Very important years in their development, very important years in their maturity, very important things to learn, skills, value, ethics. You're jumping over that. Another point is you have to remember these 14, 15-year-old kids are going to community college with people that could be equivalent their age, but most likely not. They're mostly in their 20s and 30s and 40s. So you have a 15-year-old that is going to school with people much older than him or her, and the dynamics is obviously different. We're not saying you cannot do that. Obviously, it's an opportunity to do so because you save 2 years of your life, especially if you're planning to go to medical school. So you have 4 years of undergrad, 4 years of medical school, 4 years of residency, so you have 12 years. So a lot of parents like to push their kids to save 2 years. I guess it's okay. But if you're going to do that, you as parents, make sure you are in touch with your kids. Make sure you sense their struggles. Make sure their maturity level is allow them to do so. Be well connected, be well sensed of their struggles, because they will have struggles. Okay, you're putting them in an environment that's not natural for them. From a very structured environment in high school, every day, same class, same place, same friends, very structured, to a completely unstructured environment with completely different group of people. Not saying not to do it, but make sure and understand where you're putting your kids through. There's another question, I think the gentleman was saying about Europe, going to other colleges. My simple question is why?
It doesn't require undergrad school. So we can go from high school to medical school.
There are here as well. There are colleges here that offer 7-year track, medical school or pharmacy. There are similar things here. Let me give you my pitch on what do I advise high schoolers. Number one, why go outside the state? I ask that first question because I see kids applying to Wisconsin or Minnesota, some unknown school. Why? If you want to be away from home, go to San Diego. Okay? If you don't want to live at home while you're going to college because you want to be independent, go to San Francisco, go to Berkeley, go to some, you don't have to go out of state, number one. You have a lot of privileges being in state. Unless you're applying to specialty school because of where you're studying. If you want to study a very unique thing that only that school offers it, of course, assuming none of the California school, public or private. California has one of the best school system in the country, maybe in the world, between private schools and public schools. Unless you have accepted in a prestigious school like Cornell. Absolutely. If you're accepted, that's something you should consider. You want to add? Next question.
You guys mentioned clubs in the high school. Is there any other clubs outside the high school, whether in like the community level, whether the city level, and how relevant they are, and how we can choose from them? What's the criteria I can evaluate that club?
So I know for high school, I didn't have try this out personally, but I know a lot of my friends did ROP. I don't know if you know what that is, but I think it's something in Rancho. I know it's definitely in every other city where you basically get to shadow or intern with someone who's in that field that you're interested in, and you basically just get to go around and try out and see what they're doing, like day to day, the day-to-day job of being a doctor or being a lawyer, and you just have hands-on experience on what they do, and that's definitely something valuable because, and I would almost say it's actually more impressive if you do something outside of school, because it shows that you don't just want to stick to school. You're actually thinking about the community as a whole, and you're trying to really pursue all those opportunities. I know in Rancho, there's so many clubs that have to do with volunteering. It's insane. I feel like even if you type in volunteer clubs Rancho Cucamonga, there's going to be so many things. Definitely in the library, there's a lot of things. I was in my sophomore and junior year of high school, so 10th and 11th grade, I was helping little kids who struggled with reading and writing, struggled a lot, like not just like any kid. They were like really behind, and they were like 3rd to 4th grade. They were really, really nice kids. I enjoyed the experience, and I put that on my college apps as well. I was like, hey, I volunteered helping kids to read and write, and I actually still keep in touch with the family sometimes, and it was a really, really nice opportunity. There's so many things to do with the public libraries. I feel like there's also a lot of things to do with the town hall if you want to just intern, or the district attorney's office. I'm just saying things for law because that's what I'm doing. I'm sure that, with the ROP, there's a lot of things for med as well. Not too sure about if you want to do engineering or business or any other things like that, but I know for volunteering, your public library is a really good bet.
Your volunteering and your community has to be connected to what you want to do. So we start with, you want to take your honor or AP classes in high school in the field you wanted to apply. So when the college application process, You say, I want to apply to engineering. Well, they see you took honor class or advanced placement classes in math and physics. That's commitment. That school see that student is committed to go to this field. In the same talk, their extracurricular activity has to be connected somehow. Yusuf mentioned he wanted to be a lawyer, so he served, he did an internship, something to do with law. That's show commitment, show focus, show interest in that particular field, plus the value that he will gain from participating in that area. So try to connect the dots, okay? We're here to give you all of these dots, but they are, believe me, all interconnected at the end. And that's what the process is all about. Go ahead.
So, joining Boy Scouts of America add something,
Oh,
or getting an
absolutely.
Eagle
Absolutely,
rank?
absolutely. Like, actually, Boy Scouts is something that is really important in Egypt, but for some reason Egyptians don't emphasize that here. Boy Scouts is really good because it shows commitment that not only were you doing it in high school, but to be like an Eagle Scout, you have to be doing it from a very young age. Boy Scouts is actually really good on your application.
And Girl Scouts.
And Girl Scouts, yeah.
Before we get too far, I just forgot something very, very important that I neglect to recognize. The way CEF operates is through what we identify as mentors, CEF mentors in every church. And I want to recognize the help and support that we are getting from Miret Riyadh. Miret, please stand up. So let me explain why is that important. CEF is virtual. We don't have a place. We operate by being invited in a church like here, present our workshop, our information to you as parents, to the kids, to anyone who's interested. So we have variety of services from 1 hour overview on subject like this, or college admission, or financial aid, or essay writing, to 7 hours boot camp, which is like everything you need to know about college application for like 6-7 hours. But the only way we can do this by getting the help we get from the community, from the church. Miret is our eyes and ears here. She's connected with the students. She's connected with the high school servants. She knows the church, she knows the kids, she knows your needs, and then communicate with us and invite us to come. So frankly, without Miret, we won't be able to offer our services. And again, thank you very much.
Can you talk to us more about Ivy League?
Sure. So the Ivy League is basically like, it's a collection of like the 8 oldest like prestigious schools. So they have like, so Harvard, Yale, Princeton, UPenn, Columbia, Dartmouth, Brown, Cornell. Those are like the top, they're 8 in the Ivy League. Basically what it's known for is that it's really prestigious. It opens up a lot of doors just getting into those schools. They're really, really hard to get into. Like the easiest school to get into, their acceptance rate is 10%. And then it goes all the way down, and then I think like the lowest acceptance one is like Harvard with like a 4%. So they're really, really hard to get into. They only accept the top of the top. The one thing that's also known about it is that it's like there's a lot of rich people who go there, and whether that be good or bad. So obviously with having a lot of rich people that go there, you have access to a lot of people who have money and have power. Like I said, my friend who literally her mom works for an admissions office, so I can just get into the school if I want to apply to. So yeah, they're like those 8 schools. And also it's not just Ivy League, there's also like a thing called like Ivy League adjacent schools, which basically means like schools that are just as good but they're not in the Ivy League. So Stanford is one of them, MIT is one of them, Berkeley, Caltech, Northwestern, Vanderbilt. Yeah, all these schools, they're basically like just as prestigious. There's this website, like it's like the US News and Ranking, and it just has the ranking of all the schools in the US, and if you want to see in the world as well. And basically all the school in the top 20, usually those are like the top schools. And then you'll see like the Ivy League spread around those top 20. Yeah. You can ask.
Raise your voice.
Can you raise your hand?
It's right here.
This is for parents.
what job would be like the most efficient for getting enough money for the colleges or the universities?
Do you mean like after or like?
No, like the universities usually like need money, like
Yeah, they
you have
cost
to
money,
pay.
yeah.
So, what job would be like the most efficient for getting that money? Yeah.
So, I feel like when I was your age, I sound so old. When I was your age. So, I didn't really work that many jobs over the summer because I was always doing something that was unpaid, and that is like the sad reality of things. If you want to get a really good experience, like my internship over the summer that I did this summer, you usually don't get paid for it, but you just get the experience and you put it on your resume. And then the more unpaid things that you do, you start doing paid stuff. I have a job on campus to help obviously pay for some of the stuff because I don't want my parents to pay for everything because college is expensive. I have a job on campus. I also do research. My research is also paid, so I get money for that. I try to make like just as much small money as possible. The one thing that I'll say for sure to save money in college and just to not have college cost so much is scholarships. And I'm not just talking about like the school-wide scholarships, because there's a lot of schools that are like local scholarships, but you can apply to a lot of outside scholarships. So CEF is obviously one of those scholarships that you can apply and you get $1,000 and you can put that in school rather than having to get that $1,000 by yourself to pay for the school. There's so many outside scholarships. There's the Gates scholarship, and that pays for everything for all 4 years. Obviously, it's really hard to get, but if you apply to, there's the Coca-Cola scholarship. There's there's a lot of like really small scholarships that if you add them all up together, you can end up having to like not having to pay as much for school. So yeah.
I forgot to mention something important as well. Our organization has a website called copticedu.org, copticedu.org. And as Yusuf just said, there's a lot of material posted that would benefit all of you, including that last question. We have a list of all the major scholarships. So if you go to the financial aid page of our website, there's a lot of detailed information about how to apply, when to apply, qualification to apply, all of that, and a list of all these outside scholarships, okay, private scholarships. You have to keep in mind, you have to apply to not just one or two, but at least a dozen, because the success rate is not that high. It's not like every time you apply, you're gonna, think you might get it, but you have to apply to as many as you can. Some of them are very narrow, that said your father has to be a firefighter. Okay, well, that's easy. You can exclude those, but some of them are major corporation that offer these wonderful scholarship, and you should apply to as many as you can. Oh, that's our website. Thank you, Bishoy. Bishoy in the back here is our, first of all, he's part of our organization. He's on our board. So if you have any question or complaint about the organization, you know who to go to. I want to add also one comment. Yusuf mentioned numerous times, but I'm not sure if you got it, looking ahead. He's second year college. He's already thinking about grad school. He's thinking about working as a lawyer, connecting with people to help him do that. That's planning. That's aiming. That's looking at the future. It's not just next year what he's going to do to complete his second year of college. Keep that in mind as you think about your kids. Same skills required. You need to think about that. Question?
Yeah, so Yusuf, how did your parents actually help you with that flexibility that you required at some point, dropping a major, joining another? Like sometimes we struggle with our kids, seeing them, okay, joining something, they want to quit, they want to try this other thing, and it applies to everything, sports maybe, sometimes hobbies, and we feel, or I feel, my person is sometimes I would not accept quitting, and I would still force. So what is the good range of flexibility where you're actually not influencing them or pushing them the wrong direction, and when to say yes, I will quit that, and when to say no?
Well, you heard earlier, Yusuf like to argue. I feel sorry for those parents. By the way, they are here, and I would like to recognize them. Please stand up, because frankly, Yusuf's success is not his own. Absolutely not. Without his parents, their guidance, their involvement, and their assistance, that he wouldn't be here what has achieved already or will achieve in the future. So please take a note of this. Add to it.
Okay, I have a lot to say. So the thing is, obviously, I came here when I was 12. So I came here pretty old, and I'm with the essay that was read out loud, parts of the essay of Maria, right? Maria. The parts of the essay that was read out loud, like, they really were personal to me in terms of what she had to go through in terms of like carefree family to these families that had so many things. So I'm gonna speak about my personal experience, and then I'll talk about like your situation, because I know it's a little bit different. For me, I kind of had to take care of everything on my own, because my parents were obviously, when we came here a little late compared to everyone else. So I kind of had to figure everything out on my own. I had to know what extracurricular activities I wanted, because my parents were obviously busy with other things, because it was very stressful adjusting and all that. So it was kind of like, for me, all those things, to them, it was like, these are important, but we have to like adjust. We have to find a house. We have to find a job. All those things. So for me, it was very like, okay, I need to step up, and I feel like a little bit of independence doesn't hurt. You need to give them the opportunity to fall, so that when they fall, they learn something. And that is one thing that I will say about my high school experience, is that I never made the same mistake twice. But the fact is that I was given the opportunity to make a mistake. My parents pushed me to play the piano when I was like 9, and the guitar when I was like 11, and I was not into it at all. I told them, they would force me to go to lessons. I was like, I hate it, and I don't want to do it. And you know, like the stereotypical Egyptian parent is like, oh, I want my kid to play soccer, I want my kid to play piano, but it's like those things I wasn't interested in them. And I was like, you know what, let me try something on my own, and if I don't like it, I'll switch. So I played the flute. And then it ended up being such a huge passion of mine. I still play the flute in college. It wasn't just a high school thing. I still play an orchestra in college. But you know what? With that, I was like, hey, let me switch to oboe. I don't know if a lot of people know it's just an instrument. But I was like, hey, let me switch to oboe. And I was like, okay. Obviously, my parents were like, this costs money. And I was like, let me just try it out. Didn't work out. I quit after a year, but I was like, you know what? Now I know that this is my instrument. Flute is my instrument. I'm not gonna branch out. I also tried a lot of other clubs. I was like, hey, let me try, I don't remember what I tried. I tried something stupid, but I was like, okay, let me try this. And I was like, okay, this is a bad investment of time. I know that I will never want to be a part of something like this anymore. So to you, it might seem like, oh, he just keeps dropping everything. He's not committed. But if you try to make it seem like there's a lesson out of it, okay, let's not try something like this again, you're starting to eliminate things. And that's the good thing about college. You might see as changing your major as like, you're so indecisive, you keep changing your mind, like stay focused. But for me, like I was like, okay, I'm gonna be an economics major. I took an econ class, I didn't do that well, and I'm like, I'm never gonna be an econ major. I'm not taking an econ class ever again. So now I know that's a mistake. Even though I paid for it, it was something that down the road, it comes with a greater return, because you know what you're good at and what you're not good at. And the fact that you're able to narrow it down to what you're really good at and sticking to that, that's what really matters.
I want to add something as a parent. I have one daughter. She's married, have kids. But when she was applying to college, our experiences, I didn't go to high school here. I came from Egypt with 4 years of engineering, completed my last year, went to grad school, USC, by the way. But when my daughter was going to high school, I really didn't know how to help her, because I didn't didn't go to high school here. My wife did, but we had the same struggle, and things change from year to year. So even though my wife went to high school here, she didn't have the latest information about college requirements. So we had to learn. We had to learn so we were able to educate her, to guide her. So as parents, even if you've never been to high school here, learn, get a chance to understand what is the system here, what are the various colleges. If you don't know, come to us. That's our main reason why we were created. Come to ask questions, learn about your kids' future interest, and especially college. When she applied to numerous colleges. For one reason or the other, I'm not sure what, she wanted to go UC San Diego. She wanted to be away from home, we knew that. But why is particularly UC San Diego? Well, she didn't get accepted there. God, it was crisis at home. Didn't get accepted to her school, the one she really wanted. It was not a happy few days at home. But she got accepted to another school, very good school. Went to that school for 4 years. That particular school was known for the things she loves the best. She got involved helping kids around that school with their needs, especially girls. She went to USC. As you know, USC is surrounded by very poor areas. And the school has a mission to work with around like 5 miles radius, any school within that radius. The kids, 80% of the kids that goes to USC volunteer one way or another to one of these schools. So my daughter not only engaged in that, for 4 years, she probably studied half the time, but more than half her time she was engaged in all of these things. She became a leader, as we were talking about, at the end of her tenure. When she graduated from that school, I told her, Monique, would you have rather have gone to UC San Diego or UCSC? Of course, the answer was USC. USC was the best school for her. Did we know that? Did she know that when she applied to UC San Diego when she was not accepted? No. But God had a plan, and you have to trust that. You have to trust what God destiny for you. It may not appear obvious at the time. It wasn't obvious to us why God helped her get into USC. Became later, realized what was the reason. Make sure you tell your kids that. Sometimes we go through struggles and we don't know why it happened. We don't know why God put us in that situation, that experiment. Just have trust in their abilities and God's wisdom to guide them to the right thing. Yes?
So another question, and maybe you can correct me if I'm wrong. When I'm talking about community colleges versus the USSCs, let me put it in a simple way. If my child is not doing well on studying, so would there be a path easier than the other when it comes to community college or USCs? Or now I have the third level of.
I'm going to start, and I'm sure Yusuf has to add to this. Community college system is a very good system. It helps high school kids to get 2 years of college education at much lower cost. That's great. There's several in the community, so the kids can stay at home and do that. But let me caution you. A lot of kids in high school said, my parents cannot afford to send me to college. I'm going to go to community college. They put that in their mind. To get into community college, you only require a GPA of 2.0. You don't require to take an SAT test. You don't require to write a personal statement. You don't require to do any extracurricular activity. The threshold is very low. And if the kids set their mind that I'm going to go to community college for 2 more years, I only need to maintain a GPA of 2.0, they don't study. They don't do all the things we've been talking about. So why? And then at the end of 2 years of community college, what would they do? Because most likely they didn't maintain a good grades. Most likely they're not going to be accepted to transfer to 4-year college. And then what? It's a dead end. It is the main reason CEF was created. We recognize wonderful kids that got their mindset, and we lost them. We initially focus on the high schooler because this is the time where we can make a difference in their future. Wonderful kids got wasted because they followed that concept. On the other hand, if money is the issue, those poor kids qualify for the most financial aid the government can offer. So it should be the other way around. The less money you have, the more money you qualify for. So community college is a wonderful system, only if the parents get the kids to maintain their grades, to maintain their GPA, to do all the stuff we talked about. Because it's just a matter of 2 more years that they have to transition and only take the top 10%. They don't take anybody from community college to college. So if you have bad study habits in high school to maintain a very low GPA, why all of a sudden that particular student is going to become an A student within 2 years? It's not going to happen. And therefore, not sure what they're going to do with their life.
Yeah, I'll just add something. Also with that, like, when you transfer to a 4-year school, college is hard. That is one thing that I will say for sure, especially because my school is in New York. So just being independent and on your own, that's already hard. That's already like 5 classes right there. So adding that on top of how many classes you have to take, on top of all these things, just managing your life, like doing your laundry, make sure you get food in your system, make sure you get enough sleep. Managing all this stuff is on your own, but it's better to learn it at a younger age, so when you grow up, you already know what you're doing. But when you transfer, I feel like because community college classes are a lot easier than in any system, like Cal State's, UC's, privates, all these schools are undoubtedly harder than community college. So when you're like, okay, I'm not the best student, let me go to community college and I will not challenge myself, then you just stay at that same level, and then you go to college and then you're in shock because you're like, not only do I have to actually study because these classes are so much harder, but I actually have to take care of myself. Like, I'm my own now. Because community college, most people just stay home and just go to class and then come back. But usually college, you either dorm or you stay there for a couple of days because commuting sometimes gets hard or whatever it is. And then it's like you have to take care of everything on your own. And that plus school, after not really being challenged at all, it can get really tough. And I say that from personal experience.
I want to add, very important, those kids that think about going to community college should apply to college. Community college is always an option that they have, but they should apply to a 4-year college and go through the process, get it accepted. They don't have to go. They can go and save 2 years. I'm giving you the other side of Yusuf's point. 2 years of cheap education. May not be the best, may not be the top education like colleges, but you have to, if you don't qualify for financial aid, it's a good way to get a 2-year of education to transfer to a 4-year. But you have to have that mindset from the beginning that you're planning to go to 4-year. You're not just going to end in community college. Question. We're exceeding our time here. I don't know how long you willing to stay. I'm sure Yusuf and I are willing to stay, but I want to make sure that we're,
Quick question on behalf of one of the parents.
Absolutely.
They said that you guys talk high about the switching routes or changing careers or dropping classes. But to be fair and honest, what do you have to pay for that? What is what's the pros and cons?
It's different depending on where you go to school. If you go to a UC, it's an application process, but you don't really pay for anything. Because the thing is, the first 2 years of college, you usually take your GEs, which is general education, or our school calls it distribution requirements. So you take classes that you have to take anyways, no matter what your major is. So for my class, I had to take like a math class, I have to take a science class. No matter what my major is, I still have to take a math and a science class anyways. So I was getting those out of the way. So I would take like one semester, I'd take like a math class, a science class, a government class because I thought I was interested in government, and an economics class because I thought I was interested in government. So there's 2 classes that they didn't really cost me much. Those two other classes, government and economics, they still got rid of some of the requirements that I had to take. So that's something that I got out of the way. But then with that, I know that I don't want to major in those things. For private schools, it's a lot easier. You don't even have to apply. You just change your major like I changed my major right now. You don't really pay. So the pros of that is obviously you do what you want to do because, say for example, if I'm majoring in like bio and I don't like bio, so I want to switch. That's the pro. You actually want to do what you want to do because if you take classes on things that you don't like, you're just not gonna do well because if you're not interested in what you're taking, you're not gonna be as motivated to study. The con of that is when it's too late, like you're in your junior year, you're like your second or third year of college, and you still don't know. That's when it starts becoming more meh and less, oh, this good. Because sophomore year and junior year, that's when you start really narrowing down and you have to declare a major. So that's when it becomes like, okay, we're wasting time now. But freshman year, all the schools, no matter what school you go to, they're going to tell you your first year is to explore. Because high school doesn't really give you an accurate representation of how the careers are. Like, yeah, you can take an honors bio or an AP biology class and think you know what bio is. Go to college, you're going to realize you thought you knew something about bio. Bio is completely different in college. So you can be like, okay, yeah, bio is nice and all in high school, but freshman year is just to explore what the field is actually like. Because you get to be taught by professionals who actually know what the topic is about, not just high school teachers. So there's nothing wrong with the first couple of years being wishy-washy and, you know, I want this, I want that, I want this, I want that. You're not expected to. You were never taught how the material is actually like. And then you go to college and realize, okay, this is what it really is, the real deal. And then you're like, okay, I don't want this. That's not bad. But when it gets bad is when it's too late and then you're still doing that. Then you need to figure it out. Mm-hmm.
Like, will it affect your grade card with like really?
Okay, here's the thing. For me, honors and AP classes, I took ones that I knew I would do well in. I was smart with my choices. I made one mistake and I pay for that every day, but I took AP Calculus BC, so basically a math class, and it was like the hardest math class that you can take at school. And I wasn't that good at math, and I didn't get a good grade, and yeah, I know from that day on that I will never take a hard math class again. But the thing with that is that in high school you are supposed to take hard classes everywhere so that you know what you're good at and what you're not good at. Because high school, like every single year I took at least 3 to 4 AP classes, and taking all these AP and honors classes really let me know what I'm good at because they're really, really hard. So when you step up to that challenge and when the class is hard but you still get an A, you're like, okay, I'm solid. But when it's not hard and when it is hard for you and you get a B, you're like, okay, maybe I should take an easier class, maybe just honors, maybe not AP, or maybe just don't take that. But yeah, the thing with high school as well is that freshman and sophomore year, you take lower level classes, and then it gets harder junior and senior year. So when you get to your junior and senior year, you'll be like, okay, my freshman year, I did bad in English, so let me not take AP English, maybe honors English, if that's offered. But say from freshman and sophomore year, you know you're really good at math, so you're gonna take the hardest math classes in junior and senior year. So you basically just kind of specialize. Yeah.
Let me add, you want to do career assessments as early as possible for your kids, which matches their interests and assets to their skills and what they like to do. There are tremendous variety. People like to be scientists, so they focus on certain things to be a scientist. People want to work with their hands, so they focus on a completely different set of skills. People want to be creative. It's a completely different route. Okay, so have a plan, have a goal. There's a saying said, if you don't have a plan to know where you're going, you may not end up where you want to be. You don't want to do that. You don't want to keep changing your career. It's easy to do it early in high school. The consequence is not as great, but it's very severe if someone, and I've seen a lot, people come from Egypt as whatever, an engineer said, well, I was forced to go to engineering school, but I really don't want to. I want to do something else completely different. Well, it would have been easy if we knew that in high school and focus on that. and help you a lot. Yes, sir.
If you don't get a good grade in an AP class, does it affect your overall GPA?
Yes.
AP classes is graded on a 5-point scale versus regular classes on a 4-point scale. So if you got an A, you got 5 points versus a regular class is a 4-point. So that raises your average GPA. Maria earlier had a perfect score, 4.0, which is perfect, A's in all classes, and 4.8, that means she took at least 4 to 6 AP classes and got almost A's in all of them. That's what bumped her GPA above 4.0. Yes, sir.
So, when you're applying for colleges, do you suggest applying for colleges far away from home or like close to home?
Do you live in California? Are your parents here? Are your parents next to you? Why do you want to apply outside California?
Like, I'm asking for like, let's say when I grow up, like I want to apply for far away from home for any reason. Should I do it or should I try to stay
You
in California?
want to consider all your options.
As someone who goes to school far away from home, I think I have very different opinion on most people here. Hopefully your parents don't hate me for this. But I think there's a lot of benefits to going far away from home because I definitely grew up a lot. But the thing is, don't go far away from home if it's not a good school. That's just a waste of money because you have to pay for flights, you have to pay for luggage, you have to pay for all these things, and then in the end, you're not getting a really good education. But I think that going, especially because a lot of my friends from high school go to UCs, and me and a couple of my friends go to school on the East Coast, so we're in like New York, Boston, Connecticut, and these places. Talking to my friends who are on the East Coast versus talking to my friends who are in UCs, there's a huge difference. I sound like an adult. I sound like I know what I'm talking about. I'm mature. I know how to take care of myself. But a lot of the people who are still here, because they see their parents every weekend, it's like, so it's like, yeah, it's good that you're staying. Obviously, like UCs, I mean, I did get into UCLA, but if I got into like a really, really good school that was like, if I got into Stanford, I would stay in California. But all the other schools that I was considering, like the really, really good schools that I got into were all in the Midwest. I got into Northwestern, so that was in Chicago. I got into Vanderbilt, that was in Tennessee, and I got into Cornell, which is in New York, versus UCLA or USC. And I was like looking at UCLA and USC, and I was like, these are really good schools, but I feel like the opportunities that I would find at Cornell, plus going far away from home and being a lot more mature, I feel like it was more beneficial for me. So yeah, there's pros and cons. Just make sure that you get into a good school to have a good enough reason to go far away from home.
So I was planning on like applying for Algebra 1
Mhm.
so like right now I'm in 8th grade.
Okay.
And I was thinking about applying Algebra 1 in the like a summer school.
Mhm.
So I was like wondering if that would help me like to get like in a better college or something like that.
Okay, so I actually did the same thing. I did the same thing. Just make sure that I took a summer class to get ahead in math, and it really, really helped me because I was able to take more classes that I was interested in junior and senior year because I already took the highest level math. Just make sure that you really study hard in algebra because algebra is the foundation for everything. So if you don't like retain and if you don't really understand what's going on, it might really mess up what's going on later because it all builds up from there. So what I would recommend is probably like keep your notes from Algebra 1, the summer class, and just like use it for reference later on if there's anything that you're like kind of not like you don't remember. But I would definitely recommend because it's good to get ahead in math. Like I know a lot of people were ahead in math, and those were the people who got into really good schools. So getting ahead in math, getting ahead in foreign language, I was ahead in math and foreign language because I took French, and those were really, really good things because also like something that a lot of people don't consider is when I was a junior, I was taking a lot of senior level classes, so I knew a lot of people who were older than me, and it helped me a lot with application because they went through it. So it's a really good thing, but just make sure to know what's going on in the class. Okay, well, last question.
Okay, how do I know that we can afford the college that we apply for our kids? So let's say I apply for Cornell.
Okay.
And how do I know that if we went through with it, we're gonna afford it?
So, first of all, there's like a financial aid calculator that you type in all your income from your financial tax return, and it basically gives you an estimate. It's not an accurate number, it's just like a guess on how much you have to pay. Financial aid is a really big thing. You apply for financial aid and they will try to help as much as possible. And even if you get an offer that you don't like, you can negotiate. So you can be like, hey, I know when I got into Northwestern and Cornell, and those are like basically like even, like they're both really, really good. And I talked to Cornell, I was like, hey, I would go to Cornell, but Northwestern gave me more money. So if you want me to go to your school, give me as much money as Northwestern gives me, and I'll go to your school. So they matched it, and I was able to get more money from there. One thing also is outside scholarships. So apply to as many outside scholarships as possible to be able to afford it. And yeah, they will definitely try to help.
I'd like to add a couple more.
Yeah, sure.
California offers additional aid that I'm not sure other states do. So when you apply to the financial aid, the FAFSA, it's called the FAFSA, free financial aid, whatever, you automatically consider for both the federal grants, loans, work studies, whatever, and the state grants as well. The state, California is very rich. They have a lot of money, and they offer for obviously in-state schools additional resources, especially for undocumented students. California has actually very good advantages. Private schools, on the other hand, even in California, have the ability to offer more. So FAFSA is the federal, that's general application, you qualify whatever you qualify, and you could qualify for one or four things. Grants, free money, scholarships, school scholarships, work studies, that their kids would get a job at the school and they get paid for it, so it's additional income, or loans, okay? They qualify you for loans that you, the students, will get either subsidized or unsubsidized, so that's a different topic. Private schools offer additional resources because they're private. They're not bound by the state-governed laws. As Yusuf said, Northwestern and Cornell was able to offer him not just a package, he was able to negotiate even more. So that's the good thing about private schools. Cost more, but they have the ability to offer more. When to apply? The application to college is October, November, deadline, the end of November.
12th grade, 11th grade?
The senior year, their 12th grade. They get in, like they are getting in this month, I guess, the beginning of their senior year. Within a month, they have to start looking at the application process. It's online, starts on October 1st, and ends at end of November. That's most colleges. Different colleges has different deadline. Most state California colleges, this is typically the deadline. Each private university may have a different deadlines. You apply to the financial aid at the same time. So when you finish your application to college, let's say you apply to 12 colleges. As soon as you're done with that, sometime early November, you start applying to the financial aid. And you tell them, I am applying to those 12 schools. Because each one of these will give you different packages. If you are a state school within the state of California, private school within the state of California, private school outside the state of California, each one of them is going to have a different package, completely different package. It all depends on the school cost, which is different. It depends on what the school offers, which could be different from school to school, and your income, and the student's income. We promised to wrap this up. Okay, one more final questions. Go ahead.
Can we make it two-part question?
Okay. Sure. They turned off the air conditioning. They want us out of here, so.
So what age is the best to start looking at colleges to apply for? Like,
How old are you? How old are you? What grade are you in?
I'm 12 and I'm in 7th grade.
You start now. That's not what you expected, huh?
Okay, it's not really a question, but I think knowing that many parents here are actually parents of 6th graders, they don't even know what AP class is or what SET stands for, or the IB program versus the AP, where, just let's identify those really quick. That's it.
Before we do that, this is what CEF does. We can come back and do a workshop, just focus on college admission. And we talked about everything you asked for. So it's a good thing that we can come and back and give an overview, about an hour and a half overview about everything college is required in greater detail, what's AP, what's required, what's recommended, all of that. In terms of what's terminology, let Yusuf handle that.
Okay, so basically just like, I'll just go over it really fast. So there's like regular classes offered at high school, then honors, then AP. AP is the hardest. AP stands for advanced placement. So it's basically college level. So there's this company called the College Board where they license the schools to be able to give those classes. And at the end of, AP classes are hard. They're supposed to be college level. And basically you study the entire year, and then at the end of the year you take a test, and then you see how well you do on that test. It's on a scale of 1 to 5, and it's really, really good to take AP classes. SAT, standard admissions, school admissions test, something like that. But basically, scholastic admissions test or aptitude test. And basically it's a test that you have to take to get into college. People use SAT, people use ACT. They're both schools that you have to take. I took the SAT, I liked it better. Basically it's 4 sections. ACT is like 5, but same thing. Reading, writing, 2 math sections. And you basically just have to take it. It's out of 1,600. ACT is out of 36. And it's a lot. You have to prepare for that test a lot. It took me a year to prepare for that test to get 1,500 out of 1,600. Because 1,500 is like the top 1% of all scorers got a 1,500, and it took me a long time to get there. IB, I'm not really familiar with IB because our school didn't offer IB, but I know IB is really, really good. But IB is like AP times 2. So it is extremely hard. So make sure you take IB for classes that you know you're gonna do well in, because IB it's not even multiple choice tests, it's all writing. So they're just gonna give you a question and you have like 2 hours to write something. And it is really challenging, but obviously if you take that to college, it looks really good. And college really cares about the difficulty of classes that you take. So take a lot of AP and RS classes as much as you can.
As he said, you must be good at it to make sure you get a good grade. Because what good is it? You take a very hard class and you score a C. It actually hurts you more than take a regular class and score a B or an A. So you have to be careful because you don't want to hurt yourself in the process. I want to have 2 lasting comments. As an employer, and I've worked for 43 years in major corporation and hired a lot of people. I've seen many resumes, okay? I've seen resumes from top schools to resumes from regular schools, graduates. Absolutely, I got my attention when I see someone that's graduating from Cornell. That resume was placed in a special bucket versus other universities. We still consider all of them, but it got my attention. So that's point number 1. But frankly speaking, as an employer, I looked at everything else that student or that graduate did. I want to know what else beside a good education. Our theme today, the whole day, we've been talking about what? Extracurricular activities. Academic and non-academic achievement. What else did these students do? As an employer, I say, yeah, he got great education. Wonderful. That's number 1, must have. What else did they do? Did they work during their college? Did they get involved? Did they succeed at other things? Did they have a good hobby? As an employer, I want to hire a complete person that not only academically well, but also can survive the work environment. And good grades, not going to tell me that alone. It's an indicator, but it's not the whole picture. Make sure your kids, when they go to college, I know most of the parents here are younger kids, but keep that in mind. We're trying to develop complete kids, complete personalities, complete from everything. Finally, I really, really want to thank you for attending, sticking out for a 20-minute presentation that took an hour and 20 minutes, all the wonderful questions, all the interest you show, because frankly, that's a must-have. you as parents have a role to play with your kids. You need to live up to it, own it, because the results are wonderful. When you see your kids successful, when you see the kids are doing well, they're going to have struggle, they're going to have challenges, they're going to have a lot of problems, trust me, I've been through it. But the end results are wonderful. When you see your kids successful, when your kids are doing well, there's no feeling like that. I'm a parent, I'm a grandparents. I'm looking forward to see my grandkids doing the same. Again, thank you very much. Thank you to Maret for allowing us to be here, and Abuna Mina and Abuna Mark to give us the time to speak to you. Yusuf and I are going to be around for a couple minutes. If you have any additional question, we can take it offline. All right, thanks.